Do you know the feeling when you sometimes just don't know what to do with all your patterned paper? Today I'm going to show you some fun ideas with circle die, actually with circle nesting dies. My name is Julia and I'm an enthusiastic card maker and paper crafter from Austria. Welcome to my channel, Julie's Kreativschatzkiste. These are the circle dies I will be using today. In this case they are from Craftelier, but of course you can use any other circle dies and any other form of nesting dies. I laid them out in advance so that the distances were approximately the same, and I now fixed them with a low-tech tape so that they don't move anymore and I can cut out the same circle shapes several times. In the next step I searched through my patterned paper pads. They are all 6 by 6 inches in this case, and I picked patterns and colors that fit together. But with the patterns I also made sure that they weren't too big, but that they rather had smaller patterns because I'm going to cut out relatively small shapes and I want the patterns to still be visible. Okay, here in the picture you can see the papers I chose. I also used a silver mirror cardstock because it works really well as a contrasting color. I now cut out all these circle dies from all these papers and then get lots of circles in different sizes. I do this with all my patterned papers. The circle dies fit this format exactly, so that it's very handy. And this is what it looks like when I'm done with cutting. I have a huge supply of circles. I then take the largest circle die again and simply cut it out of normal paper. In my case it's white paper, but you won't see it later, so the color doesn't matter at all. I cut out another big white circle. Since I plan to stick several rings on these circles, I will prepare these background circles by placing double-sided adhesive tape on them. For my one large circle, I use individual circle pieces from all my patterned papers, so it becomes more colorful. For the other circle, I limit myself to 3 different design patterns. For the second circle, I used the green and yellow patterned paper alternately, and in between I added 2 silver rings to loosen things up a bit. I then removed the cover from my double-sided tape and also applied liquid glue to my background circle. And now I simply place the prepared circular rings, one after the other, on this background circle and glue them in place. And I do the same exactly with my second background circle. To further decorate my circle, I used this embossing folder from Spellbinders. To emphasize the raised leaves even more, I took out an expanding mousse in natural cotton from Nuvo and simply traced the leaves with my finger. But later this creamy white was a bit too light for me and I painted over it again with a blue embellishment mousse. For my second large circle, I picked out this background stamp from Pinkfresh Studio. It's called Swirls. I used the stamp platform from Crafter's Companion here, and with these large background stamps, I always attach the stamp to the platform right with the magnet on the foil, and I fix the paper on the top of the stamp platform with tape. I find that somehow easier, and with these large stamps I'm always afraid that they won't stay on top of the stamp platform and will fall down. My plan is to apply the stamp to my circle using white heat embossing, so I'm also using my anti-static powder tool. Let's continue with the embossing stamp pad, and then I can apply my circle to the stamp, press it down and cover it with white embossing powder. When heating the circle with my heat tool, I pay attention that I distribute the heat well, so that my circle doesn't warp or become uneven. I really like that heat embossing here. So here my circles are now finished and I can start making cards with them. For my first card I use a light blue blank card. I want to glue this circle at least partially to my blank card. I try out several variations here and see where I like the circle the best. Finally, I really like it here in the bottom left corner, and I'm also using a piece of the second circle on this card. So now I'm sticking it down with liquid glue. Since I can't say exactly which part of the circle will lie on the card with this large circle shape, I make sure the liquid glue is distributed both on the outside edge of the circle and on the edge of the card in the bottom left corner, because then I can be sure that at least the edges are stuck. I do the same with the second circle, and then I put something heavy on it, in this case an acrylic block, until everything is dry. However, I use the time while it's drying to make my next card. Here I'm starting with a green-white blank card, and I have picked out a few green and dark blue circles, which I'm sticking irregularly on this cream-colored blank card into a semicircle format. I fixed the semicircles with tape. But now I'm going back to my first card, where I now can cut the circle from the back so that they fit exactly onto the card. I really recommend to use large scissors for this, because then the cutting line will be straight. So this is what my card base for the first card looks like. I'll now move on to our third card. Here I want to put the part of this yellow-green circle that we have left over, at least half of it, onto the cream-colored blank card. I'll do that again with liquid glue. I put a heavy acrylic block on top and let it dry. Let's go back to our second card. There was still quite a bit of area free and empty on this card. I'm now trying to fill that by choosing a variety of circles that would fit. I'm keeping the green-blue color scheme because I really like it with the cream-colored blank card as a combination. I may also make sure that the circles are not very regularly, but that there is a bit of variety in them. As soon as everything is as I like it, I use a tape to create a hinge and hold everything in place. Then I open it up, apply my liquid glue to the areas that will then be stuck on the card, and I close it again and press it down until it is dry. Now let's start working on my card number 4. Here I'm using a light blue blank card again, and this time I'm just randomly adding the circles somewhere on the card. I alternate small and large ones, light and dark ones, so that there is a nice variety in the card. When the whole card is covered the way I like it, and the circles overlap nicely, then I want to stick it in place. In order to achieve this without anything moving, I use post-it tape. Actually 2 strips of it. This tape holds the circles very good in place, so I can peel them off my card easily. But before I glue them down again, I just use my Distress Oxide faded jeans to color the edges of my blank card. Now I can apply the liquid glue to my circles and make sure that I get all the layers. This way everything will hold together well. Now I can add the circle construct to my blank card. I put it in the position I like it, and then I press it down, and through the adhesive tape it also sticks to the blank card nicely. Nevertheless, I put the acrylic block on it until it is dry. The drying time I use again to cut off the circles on card number 2 and to color the edge of card number 1 in blue. I still had so many circles left, especially in silver and in this light marbled paper, that I picked out a dark blue blank card that goes very well with these colors, and I arranged the circles here as I like them. I then borrowed the post-it tape from the other card, fixed it again and made a hinge. I applied the liquid glue using exactly the same technique as before, and then I stuck everything on the card. And while that was drying, I cut off the excess circles on my card number 4 again. And as the glue was dry already for my last card as well, I also could cut the excess circles on this last card too. And these are now the base cards that we made. I think they all turned out really nice, but that was actually the point I was talking about before. I didn't like the bright leaves on the card anymore, So I got out my embellishment mousse in Cornflower blue and I simply colored the leaves in blue. Then it was time for my sentiments. For this dark blue card, I simply cut out a white circle and stamped Happy Birthday on it. I now fixed this sentiment with foam tape to give the card a bit of dimension. And finally, I use a few Spellbinders sequins to add the glitter factor to the card. This card is now finished. I decorated the two cards with a light blue background with Stickles in yellow, and for both I took a Glückwunsch and a Herzlichen Glückwunsch, both mean congratulations sentiment. I like the yellow Stickles so much that I used them on this card with a happy birthday sentiment as well, and to balance it out I also applied this Nuvo vintage drops in the Earl Grey color. For the card with the blue and green circles I use a simply Herzlichen Glückwunsch congratulations sentiment written on a thin strip which is raised by foam tape. I still had a few parts of this big circle left over, which I then used for this bonus card. But I cannot show you this anymore because otherwise the video would be too long. So these are my 6 cards made from circle nesting dies and patterned paper. Which one do you like the best? And what do you do with your design paper? Tell me in the comments, I would be glad. I hope you enjoyed the video and the cards, and I would be very happy if you left me a like or maybe even subscribe to my channel. Servus, until next time.